Ricky Nick, Alex, Idea to Nolan, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 710. I'm your host, Chicken Bick. Alongside with me, the man, the myth, and the legend, and then also the guy who doesn't like to turn on the AC. It's Alex.
I'll turn on the AC, but when it's going to be 55 at night, we can get through a day of the 80s where we don't have the AC on. So, yeah, I just don't like to have the heat on for 3 or 4 straight months every day and then immediately go to AC. You got to have some time in between. Man, I'm trying to save some money.
He's the man that likes to burn everything and also doesn't like AC. It's Matt.
I'm refusing to turn on AC just on general principles.
We have fans. We have fans in the house we can use.
I'm the guy that's in the middle of the winter sleeps with the windows open, so I got nothing to say about all this. Gentlemen, how the hell are you?
Been grinding away at work, grinding away at Ghost of Yotei. You know the life.
Matt, how you doing, sir?
Other than fighting off a headache, I think I'm okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm going to contribute more to your headache. Maybe not.
But
I don't
why
know.
do you say that?
I don't know. I just feel like I give people
Arguments?
headaches.
Are you predicting arguments on the show?
No, I just...
You don't get under my skin like some other people do. There are definitely others that get under my skin more than you. You, I take in general amusement when you always have to play Tricky's advocate. I'm not saying devil's advocate because it's never devil's advocate. It's always Tricky's advocate.
I like to... Okay. I like to have a conversation where I'm saying, let's explore the other options. And yes, it does get me in trouble sometimes.
Yeah, well, if we're gonna go back to how I actually doing, my smoker broke on Friday night as I was preparing an 8-pound pork shoulder for some visitors that I was having on Saturday, and there was absolutely nothing I could do to fix it, and that sucks.
That does suck.
The part to fix it literally just got dropped off at my doorstep.
Just now?
Just now. I was hoping it would be an early delivery, and it was way not.
Do you need to go get it, or?
No, it's just sitting on my doorstep. It's just I was hoping to get it earlier today so I could spend time fixing it as opposed to trying to do it after work any day this week.
Gotcha. All right. Let's get into the show proper. I know I have the agenda. What the? I don't know. For some reason the agenda was on a different tab. I don't know what the hell's going on. Let's do our updated trophy counts. I am level 982, total trophies of 35,531 with 1,032 platinums. Alex?
Level 533, total trophy count of 11,224, and a platinum count of 208. And 208 in 207 games.
Yield is level 543, total trophies of 11,876 with 228 plats. Matt?
I am once again not moving my trophies at all because I haven't touched my PlayStation, so therefore I am level 223, 1,381 trophies, and 0 plats.
And Sid is level 902, total trophies of 28,162 with 869 plats. Okay, I thought it was coming. Yes.
69.
There it
Something's
is.
coming.
What's coming?
Something's coming.
That's what she said.
You lost me, Alex.
I don't have the strength to explain it to you, Jerky. Not here on the air or anywhere else.
Okay. Sure. Let's do. We have our rarity update given to us by Yield. I'm going to pass that in now. Thank you, Yield, for that. And, gentlemen, we do have a Sophie Trophy this week from Sid. So let's get into that.
Hello again, guys. It's Sid with your Platinum update. Now, I've got 3 weeks worth here to do because, as usual, my timing is not very good. So this week, I'm not going to say I will hopefully talk to you next week. I will just say I will talk to you soon because things get in the way, it seems. So this is a bumper-sized episode or thing, whatever. And we will start with ED J3DG with Dispatch on the PS5. And then we have Pee-wee ITFC with Brightside Riddles and Puzzles on the PS4, Sable on the PS5, and The Pathless on the PS5. Next up, guys, is Psy Tychist with Ball Pit or Ball X Pit on the PS5, Detective Agency Grey Tie 2 on the PS5, and Escape Academy again on the PS5. Next up, MZ Nitro, Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt on the PS5, Treasure Hunter Simulator on the PS4, and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart on the PS5. It's a great game, that is. Shotty Sniper 123 with High Guard on the PS5. Death Stranding 2 on the PS5. Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. I think that's on the 5. I think it's Delta, I'm not sure, I could be wrong. And then also Resident Evil Requiem on the PS5. And this one, guys, Baldur's Gate 3 on the PS5. I mean, well done to Shotty Sniper on that one. Affectatious Donk with Super Wooden GP or Woden GP on the PS5 and Super Woden GP2 on the PS4, I think. I mean, I think it's on the PS4, guys. I'm not too sure. I'm not doing too well this week. Dupes 25 with Hollow Knight on the PS5. Resident Evil Requiem on the PS5. Final Fantasy IX on the PS4. Resident Evil Village on the PS5. Code Veronica on the PS4. And Diablo 4 on the PS5. So, I will say, guys, Dupes is running away with it for me on this one. All those. I mean, well done, Dupes. Well done. Misa Goats a lot with Ape Escape on the PS5. And Lego The Hobbit on the PS4. And God of War Sons of Sparta on the PS5. Dat One Seagull with Elden Ring on the 5 and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot on the PS4 and the PS5. And then we have Darth Knight 82 with Satisfactory on the PS5. Californian Wayne with Spider-Man 2 on the 5. And College Football 26 on the 5. And Ifrit Hellfire 90 with Satisfactory on the PS5. Astrobot on the PS5. And Claire Obscure on the PS5. And Redbeard Rick with Cup Heroes on the PS4. And then we have Rothlols with Stumble Guys on the PS4. And Stumble Guys on the PS5. And Life is Strange on the PS4. Gaz Davis 11 with Tribreaker on the PS4. I Yield to No One with Bridge Constructor on the PS4. And last but not least, guys, we have Raise Havoc with Ghost of Yotei on the PS5. So, yeah, quite a few plats there, guys. I am sorry, I haven't read them out for a few weeks, but life keep getting in the way, unfortunately. Like I say, dupes for me with all of those. I mean, that's some good ones. And also Shotty Sniper with Baldur's Gate 3 and Death Stranding 2, I have to say. So they are some good platinums. But overall, there are quite a few good platinums in this little selection, guys. Some I've not heard of, you know, and some I know I will never, ever, ever get. So that is going to be it from me, guys. Like I say, sorry I keep taking so long, but thanks for listening to me prattle on for a bit. And I will talk to you soon. Keep getting those trophies, guys. Have fun and take care.
All right. It's always good to hear from Sid. Thank you, Sid, for that. Gentlemen, let's get into what we're playing. Alex, we'll start with you.
I'm pretty simple. Mostly, I talked about Ghost of Yotei Legends last week. I have now grinded to the point where all 4 classes are up to level 25. So I've gotten every single trophy for that, except for the raid section of Legends, which has not been released yet. I believe that it's supposed to be released next month here in April, so very soon. So I'd like to think that I'm ready for whatever they can throw at us, but raids, the raids are the hardest part of Legends, and I think that's probably why it didn't come out with the rest of it. They wanted people to have time to build up their classes and test out every class and see which one they like the best. So yeah, the survival and the story modes have difficulty classes: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. I wonder where they came up with those class names, but raids might just be one set difficulty. I'm not sure. I think the last time in Ghost of Tsushima they were one set difficulty. You couldn't change the difficulty on that. So this might be unlike any of the other, which I mean it would explain why it would be so difficult. So got through all of that. Again, I think without raids, content there is fun for a few days, but kind of shallow once you kind of once you've beaten survival, once you've done the story stuff and seen the beaten all the bosses and the incursions. One thing I will say is, so there's the Yotei 6, correct? The villains in Ghost of Yotei. Well, there are 4 incursions and each one has a boss at the end. A really cool, I talked about it last week, a very large demonic version of the characters that we saw in the games. So really cool artwork there, art design. But there are only 4 because the other 2 are saved for the raids. So in the story modes, you will face the Kitsune, the snake, the spider, and the Oni. And then for the raid section, you will face Saito, who's, I guess, is a tiger, because that you see everywhere a tiger artwork around him and what he's wearing on the back of his clothing. And then the dragon. So the dragon and Saito were saved for the raid section. So I'm looking forward to it because I would really like to beat the raids this time around since I had such difficulty with Tsushima's raids. But I'm trying to stay cautiously optimistic. The other thing I've been doing is I've started my New Game Plus in Ghost of Yotei. I'm not really looking to buy anything else I'm not looking to play anything else right now, so I'm kind of just, while I've got the combat down, I'm trying to get through the New Game Plus of Ghost of Yotei, and I have to say, I don't really understand the point of playing this game twice. Like, they add a new merchant in, and they add ghost flowers, which you use to buy, to upgrade your weapons and your bows and your guns another level. Your armors can also be upgraded. Like I said, there's a new merchant that allows you to buy new colors and shades and cosmetics for your clothing, your armor, your guns, your bows, everything. But really beyond that, I just don't see a point in playing this game again. Like, I mean, the first time through, it's like you experience the story, you get all the drama, you're playing it through the first time through. The second time, it just seems like, oh, we want you to play this game for longer. It just feels like unnecessary padding. Like, it doesn't feel like there's a point to playing the game again. And, yeah, I mean, like, I've gotten, before I even went to fight the first member of the Yotei 6, or the second one, depending on how you look at the introduction to the game, I had pretty much all my weapons upgraded to the next level. Because you get ghost flowers for doing all the side quests again, doing the main missions again. So you may have maxed out all your stuff at the altars. You may have, just you found all the fox dens, you found all the wolf dens. But once you do those again, you get ghost flowers, which you can put towards these new things. But there's not enough new in the game, I think, to warrant playing it again. So unless you are diehard for the trophies, I don't really see a point to playing New Game Plus Ghost of Yotei. Now, if there was a DLC attached to it and I could play New Game Plus with all my stuff that carries over and then go to that new DLC area, I can understand that. But they made the game slightly more difficult. You can still play on Casual Plus, on Easy Plus, Normal Plus. Like, it's not like the game is just otherworldly harder, because if you play on the game once through, I played it on Normal the first time through, but now I'm playing on Casual Plus because I don't see a need for me to do all this shit again on a hard difficulty. I just don't care that much. So while I like Ghost of Yotei, and the Legends was, fun and new and sparkly for a few days, the New Game Plus is just completely unnecessary. And they especially if you're going to make people go through New Game Plus, give them more trophies. There's only 2 trophies. Come on. give people more. You could have added more trophies in there. It kind of feels like, and I don't really want to call Sucker Punch lazy because, you know, making a game like Ghost of Tsushima or Ghost of Yotei takes a lot. So, but when it comes to the trophies and the modes, it just all carries over from the first game. It's like copy and paste job from the first fucking game. It's just kind of like with the trophies, it does feel kind of lazy, to be honest with you. So I am a little disappointed in that aspect. The game is still fun to play, but it feels completely unnecessary to go through it again. Without the raids, Legends feels a little shallow. It will last you maybe a couple days. But I mean, give it a shot. You know, maybe others will get more of it than I have. But once raids comes in, that'll be the true test of skill and what we've been working towards. So we'll see if all the grinding's worth it. But yeah, Ghost of Yotei, it's just kind of like when you make a new game plus, give me a reason. Put in new secret bosses, put in new things. You had extra time after the game came out to get this ready to come out. And if you expect people to play through a game again, you have to give them a reason to do it. One simple upgrade to your weapons and like a few new cosmetics isn't enough reason for me to go back and play this game again. So, I mean, I'm doing it for the trophies, but I feel like there's more that they could have added in. And if you didn't have time to add it in, just go with a DLC. Or if you were gonna expect people to run through the game again, take more time and put the new game plus out after you put out raids and legends and stuff. I don't think anybody is going to complain if new game plus isn't available from the start. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. But I mean, overall, I don't want to. I've done a lot of bitching here, but I mean, Ghost of Yotei overall is a great game. I just think that once you've beaten the main campaign, what's left afterwards is kind of just like, you know, your mileage may vary.
All right. Matt?
So, same 4 games I've been playing for the past couple weeks. I did more of Slay the Spire 2. Did some multiplayer with that with some friends, and we lost handily. Unfortunately, sometimes that's how that game goes. But still having fun with it. More Mugenics. I just looked. I have about like 30 hours in the game, and I'm only 12% complete. So I've got a long way to go to continue that. I did more Monster Hunter Stories 3, whereas I am in an area and I'm having difficulty with the game because I moved on to the second area, and there's monsters that I can defeat very easily. And then there's monsters that take me forever, or I beat them by a hair, and it's just confusing. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll just go back to the first area to grind. And I go back there and I find I'm in the same boat. So I'm having difficulty understanding the leveling concept in this game because, when you're facing monsters and it's a rock, paper, scissors type thing, what you have to do is they've added a couple levels of complexities to this game by adding like a new monster meter that you have to drain when you're fighting them on top of the normal part breaking mechanics. It's very confusing when it's like you have to use a certain weapon on a certain body part. And then you still have to juggle the rock, paper, scissors aspect of the fight. And even then you're still like guessing sometimes and you're trying to build up the meter to do the double attack with your monster. On top of that, it's like it changes its attack type. It's just there's a lot of flipping back and forth. So I'm looking up some guides to maybe better prepare me for some of these fights, because I'm also not finding the materials I need to upgrade my weapons and armor to do better as attacks and better defenses. So there's a lot of struggling I'm doing with some of the parts of the game, the mechanics that are inherent, and I played through 2 just fine. So whatever they're doing in Stories 3 is really, it's really making it kind of, I'm struggling with it at this point, but I still finding it fun. I'm going to push through. I just need to figure out what some of these other things I need to do with the combat are. And then I am also still playing Crimson Desert, and I'm really just kind of exploring around now. I found one section that, there was like 30 bandits and I got gangbanged pretty hard real quickly as I entered the area. I was going after a bounty, and I captured the bounty. I had him on my shoulder. I got on my horse and I'm running out of an area, and suddenly somebody shoots me with a rifle. and I fall off my horse and I just get surrounded and killed. So I have to get back to that area multiple times because every time I go into that area to recapture the bounty, it's just they're ganging up on me and taking me out. It was a little rough until I found where the bounty was actually standing after my respawn, and I was able to kind of sneak him out. And then, the long ride back. And that's one thing that I look at it, I go, wait, if I'm doing these bounties halfway across the continent, why is there only one jail area for me to have to take him back to? And I have to gallop all the way back. So it's fairly annoying on that aspect. But the developers actually did some light patchwork over the past couple of weeks. They added additional storage space. So in your town or your starting area, you actually have a storage chest now that you could store items that carries over. And they worked around some of the controls. Now, when you're on foot, you don't have to continuously tap A to run. You just hold it down and your character runs. The horse is still a little weird. I can't figure out what they did with the horse running. But they really are trying to listen to people who are complaining and say, are these legitimate complaints? Are these things that we could fix? So they've done 2 passes to do that. I've got about 15 levels in the game, and I'm just trying to figure out, it is a wild skill tree because, you have a blue path, a green path, and a red path, blue being your stamina, green being your earth powers, and red being your health and attacks. But then there's like other attacks sprinkled throughout. There's literally like wrestling moves. I got what's called a Abyss Relic, and I have to do something to unlock it, which gives me a skill point. Well, and you'll appreciate this, guys, but it tells you I have to eliminate 3 enemies with wrestling moves within 1 minute. And it's literally clotheslines or like jump kicks or, there's people who call it the RKO because it literally looks like what Randy Orton does.
A cutter. We also call that a cutter. Or if you're an old school wrestling fan, a diamond cutter from back in the 90s. Bang.
Okay, well, you get the idea. They actually have like actual wrestling moves that people are using in this game.
So it sounds like they went to Tekken and Bandai Namco and said, King, can we get your advice on how to fight? Good old King from the Iron Fist tournament. I can't remember the full name of that fucking tournament, but yeah, it sounds like King is in this game.
From Tekken, yeah.
Yeah, suplexes and drop kicks. That motherfucker just...
It's amazing.
He'll belt somebody.
There's a lot of fluidity into the fighting. You just have to get the levels to be able to kind of chain some of these skills together. Like I have to do 3rd level of a sword attack in the blue tree to be able to be eligible to get a skill in the green tree. So it's figuring out the skill trees and where all of the pieces interlink. I kind of wish there was a way that the devs could make it that, like, if I'm looking at a skill that has prerequisites of another skill, I wish I had a button that I could press to like highlight where those other things are so I can know where I need to put my skill points to get the prerequisites. So it's a very deep system, and now it's kind of like I'm in analysis paralysis where I'm going, all right, what do I really want to do? Do I want to increase my attack capabilities? Do I want to juice up my superpowers? Do I want to just get health and other resiliency aspects of the skill tree? But there's still a lot of game left. I've only got like a half dozen or a dozen hours in it. And I'm finding puzzles out in the wild. And I know what I have to do on the puzzles, but sometimes there's like an aspect that I'm not sure. I'll give it to you this one, Tricky. There's one puzzle out there. You have to spin 3 different pedestals to align a picture up on the side of a mountain.
Tell me it's a spider.
It's not a spider, no.
Okay.
So the problem is 2 of the 3 pedestals have handles to be able to spin them. The 3rd pedestal does not. And I'm using the force grip that they give you to be able to like manipulate it, and it's not working. I go, well, how the fuck am I supposed to actually spin this thing that doesn't have a handle? Well, I looked it up online because I knew what I had to do on the puzzle.
Okay.
I knew what that solution was. I looked it up online. It's like, well, you use your stab attack and you stab your sword into the pedestal, and then you could use that to spin. I'm like, how the fuck was I supposed to think about that?
What the hell?
I'm like, okay, and that's where these puzzles are going. You have to think outside the box. There was a puzzle last week. I go into the area, and I see on the wall there's a map with 3 X's. And there's 3 things in the dungeon that I need to spin to solve the puzzle. I'm like, okay, well, I know what I need to do. It wants me to go find those areas on the map, find the picture to know what the picture is in the dungeon that I need to match. I said, well, fuck that. I know what I need to do. I'm just going to go online and find the solution to the puzzle, because why the fuck am I going to go traipsing around to 3 areas on the map and waste time doing that? So am I taking the cheap out way for some of these puzzles? Yes, but I'm legitimizing it by saying I know what I need to do. I'm just saving time at this point.
You're cheating.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not like I'm using a controller that your program moves into, so it's all right.
You're just not going to let that go, are you?
I never will now.
Jesus Christ.
You're going to have to kick me off the show if you never want to hear that again.
It's not cheating. I had to do it to get it into the controller. So it's not like I wasn't able to do it and I just said, okay, have the controller do it for me. I had to do it to program it into the controller.
Tricky, are you okay? You're getting very angry.
I'm tired of being called out for stuff that's not my fault.
Cheating on PlayStation profiles. That too.
That too.
Well, I can't help that.
Before you get going again, I just want to welcome Kalai, Dex, Will, and Pinball into the chat. Welcome, guys.
Hi, folks. So yeah, I'm finding puzzles, and I'm starting to find cool things. Like I had this one quest. They're like, you need to get this thing off of this entity's head. You know, I'll say person or entity or whatever it is. And I'm meeting them in the forest. They're like, oh, they walk by here. I need you to get it off their head. I'm like, okay. And then in the distance, you hear this loud thudding, and you're like, what the fuck am I gonna? And it's a fucking ent. An ent walks by you, and you got to climb it to get this thing off of its head to complete the quest. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. There's neat things that this game is throwing at you, and it's still marred by the fact that the control is utter shit. Like, I was looking at some of the move sets and the skills, and it's like, to do this move, you have to press like LT and RB and then follow up with an XA or YB. I'm like, holy shit, could they make this any more complex? It's like a fighting game, except you have to remember not just your fighting moves, you have to remember everything else that goes into the game.
You don't have to remember if you program it into the controller.
Well, you know, I don't have that controller, and some people say that that's cheating, and I don't want to cheat any more than I already have.
Most people say that's cheating.
Most people do. Nobody on this show, though. So, anyways, I think
66% of this show would say it's cheating.
Well, what about I heard it was 67%.
We don't round up. We still
count
pennies.
It's more like 75%. 75% of this show would consider it cheating.
Oh dear.
25% doesn't count anymore because he hasn't been on the show in 2 months.
Oh snap!
We still read his trophies.
Yeah, legacy.
His voice is still on the show, and we add him in for the trophy rarity update.
Yeah, but it's not like he listens to the show, so he'll never know if we actually patch it in or not.
That is true. That's true. Alrighty, that's all I've been playing. It's more to come on those 4 games. I don't think there's any other games coming out in the near future that's going to take me away from this quad right now.
And I've been diving into The Division. I have not played Crimson Desert all this week. I'm not saying I'm giving up on the game. I have no desire to go back to it right now. I started playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate to address your question from last week, Alex. Some streets are a little wide, but most I've come across are not that wide. But now that you have that grappling tool, it's easy to go from, building to building. So I don't stress about that.
Fair enough. and that's not something I thought of when I was playing. Like I said, when I've watched retrospectives on the game, that's something that other people have brought up.
I mean, if you're trying to free run, I would see that as a problem, but you have that grapple, which actually, I forgot that the game had it. It actually makes it easier to get up to the viewpoints faster, so I do appreciate that. There's only 3 trophies I need for that game, and it seems like the 3 trophies that are going to be, I'm not going to say the most difficult to get, but the most time consuming. I got to get 100% on each of the missions. I have to run over 5,000 things, and I forget the other one I have to do. Yeah, that's all I've really been playing this week. I really haven't had a chance to play it all. But I do want to give a shout out to Will, who provided me with YouTube thumbnails. So as I stream the games, I'm uploading them to YouTube, and he gave us gave me custom thumbnails for each game. So that's pretty cool. And I think that's all I've been playing. I can't think of it. I don't think I've played anything else. I'm looking right now. We need, like, hold the music. Crimson Desert. Yep, that's all I played. I haven't played Arc Raiders since the 14th of March. So. And I haven't played Sons of Sparta since the 9th of March, so. I'm a little out. Dex says Jello.
Wow.
Yes?
Oh, go ahead. I'll make my comment after you read what Dex said.
No, he just said Jello.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, I'm almost surprised that you haven't made it through God of War all the way yet. I mean, I get it's a different style of God of War than what we usually get, but usually you're all over God of War, and it seems like you're sitting on Sons of Sparta a little bit.
You know what? Here's the thing. The 2 months I went through with dealing with the snow and working and not being able to be on the show, I really just want to sit back when I have the time to play a game and just play a game. I don't want to get too involved with anything. And the only reason, like, I probably wouldn't even be playing Division right now, other than it's the anniversary, the 10-year anniversary. So that actually ends. I'm not sure if it's Tuesday or Thursday, because they changed their update schedule from Tuesdays to Thursdays, but I don't know if when the season ends. I gotta look into that. So year 8 is about to start, and it's gonna have some new features. I'm really excited about. Can't wait until we get crossplay so I can start roping Matt into playing Division with me. Yeah, that's all I've been playing. I got 1 trophy in Crimson Desert. I can't even tell you what it was.
Probably pressing start.
Oh, it says countless adventures await beyond the horizon. I guess that's just getting out of the first chapter, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's all I've been playing. So at this point, I am going to throw it over to Matt, I think. Matt, am I throwing it over to you now? I've done everything? Yes, I've done everything.
News.
It's the news.
It is the news. And we're going to be starting off this week with a little bit of sad gaming news corner, because Epic Games has announced that they are laying off 1,000 Epic employees. Basically, a note was sent out to all of the Epic employees, said, "Today we're laying off over 1,000 Epic employees. I'm sorry we're here again." This coming from Tim Sweeney. And it hasn't been good since then, because they announced the layoff, saying that Fortnite hasn't been making the money that they need, not as much as they have, and that a couple other things. This puts them in a strong position to outlast some of the issues that they're foreseeing. A lot of this sounding very similar to the last round of layoffs that they went. And this story got even more complicated when there was a story about an employee who was terminated, has been battling terminally ill brain cancer. And as a result, even they came out even today and said, yeah, we're going to handle the medical on that one. But, obviously the sickness was not something that factored into it due to this protected health information and status. But I look at this and I go, over 1,000 employees with how much money that Epic is purportedly making. And I don't know. I look at this, I go, do some of those lawsuits have things to say? All the lawsuits that they've been fighting over the past couple of years between Apple and Google and them going after Valve and everything else, that takes a lot of money. But really, there was nothing else they could have done. So the US employees will receive paid coverage for 6 months. They're looking to accelerate stock option vesting through 2027. So there's a whole bunch of things that Epic Games is doing to, I guess, better position themselves in the market. I don't know. I saw that and I sent the message to the guys. It was like, how when everybody talks about is how much money they spend on Fortnite and that Fortnite makes them more money than God. Is it all the free games they give out every week? I don't know how. You guys talk about this one because I'm baffled.
It's all the licensing they do for Fortnite. It's insane how much licensing they're having to pay for characters in Fortnite. They got Beavis and Butthead. They got The Rock. They got Carly B. They got it's ridiculous the number of characters and licenses they have to pay. So yeah, this was going to catch up, and this is kind of what happened with Rock Band. I mean, now Rock Band and Harmonix is owned by Epic, but they were having to pay for licensing for the music. For a long time, Harmonix was getting new license for new music every single week, and then eventually that stopped. And then once the license started running out, they can't, renew the licenses. So the songs were, as long as you had them, you still had them, but you weren't allowed to buy them anymore. This is the same thing. Like, Fortnite is their moneymaker. Obviously, we know that, but they're going to have to let some licensing go. They can't keep everything in the store. You're laying off 1,000 people. That's not an insignificant number. Don't talk about you having to lay people off. Talk about, we're not going to pay Cardi B, $3 million or whatever the hell it is to use her likeness in a game that, quite frankly, I don't think anybody really wants or cares about. I mean, you guys don't play Fortnite, but if you did, would you care about running around as Cardi B? No. I don't know.
So they did mention that in their article that the licensing for some of their projects to keep Fortnite fresh and updated. So basically, they're spending money to make money is what they're saying. Alex?
So I think that first and foremost, when you have a strategy of making money off of licensing and as heavy of licensing as they do, at some point that's going to come back down to earth because people are going to move on from your game, and there has been talk of, engagement with Fortnite isn't what it used to be. I mean, there still may be a lot of people, but to constantly have all these things you're paying for, these franchises, they got to pay Disney for all the Marvel stuff. I mean, there's, like Tricky said, there's tons of licenses that they've rented out, essentially. And maybe because they did what I was reading, I was trying to find it, and I think they did a round of layoffs in 2023 as well. So you've had 2 rounds of layoffs here in recent years. Maybe instead of just firing people, maybe your strategy needs to be, I don't know, look at the Epic Game Store. Is it worth you continuing to have the Epic Game Store open? Is it worth it to you to continue to license characters in Fortnite? Because realistically, some of, they have their own original characters in there, like the Banana Dude. I'm sorry, I don't know what the Banana Dude's name is, Peely or something. Put out costumes for characters like that. Stop licensing all these characters and just have original characters that you can license out. People enjoyed playing Fortnite before you started doing all this licensing. So maybe look at that as a place you could save money to knock out all the licensing. Rocket League does a ton of license stuff. Not as much as Fortnite, but they probably do one licensed agreement or they run some kind of event once every 2 months or something like that at the very least. So my brain now goes, as someone who's played Rocket League for all these years, what happens to Rocket League? What is is Psyonix? Does this affect them at all? Because aren't they owned by Epic Games?
They are, but they also have or they did, I think they just stopped it, but they had Rocket Racing, which is basically Rocket League inside of Fortnite. They have
Yeah, which is silly.
they have a Lego Fortnite mode. Like
So
I'm not trying to cut you off, Alex, but to me it's strictly all the money they're spending for licensing. They got to stop it. I understand keeping trying to keep the game fresh and new and whatnot. I get that, but it's every season. Like they licensed Marvel characters, Star Wars characters, like anything you could think of is in the game, and those licenses ain't cheap.
yeah, but everyone always the first thing you think of Epic Games and making money is Fortnite. Well, what else do they have besides Fortnite?
I'll look it up right now.
So while you're looking at that, part of the story was the guy who designed Jonesy, like the face of Fortnite, was one of the ones let go. Just saying, that's fucked up.
Well, you know, Epic has the Unreal Engine. They have Rocket League.
And I get it; they can license out the Unreal Engine for people to use to make their own games, but still,
wasn't there like a whole controversy with the Epic Engine? Like they were charging people to use it or some. I don't remember the details of that.
Well, they use Unreal Engine, and they actually had a better deal than other engine makers. They were giving people breaks if they were using Unreal Engine to sell on the Epic Game Store and a whole bunch of other things.
I thought I remember a story where they were like overcharging people or something, but I could be just misremembering the story. Epic Games.
And I have to ask, when we talk about positioning themselves better to succeed in the video game industry, is better positioning themselves having less employees or fewer employees? Is that what like success in the video game industry looks like going forward? These mega teams being cut down to smaller groups? Is that what we're looking at here?
Well, then you have Tim Sweeney sitting there talking about, hey, all these great talented people are now going out there and they'll be able to go to these other companies. It's like, bitch, how many other companies are mass hiring? Like, what? You cut all these people and say good luck elsewhere.
Well, yeah, and we've seen. I mean, Sony's cut staff. They just closed Blue Point. I mean, I think that if you have had massive rounds of layoffs, twice in the last 3 years, and to this degree of 1,000 people, there's something wrong with your business strategy. It's not the fact that you have people on hand; it's the fact that your business strategy is fucked up somewhere. And because people who were successful in business don't have to do these many rounds of layoffs. This succession.
All right, so I looked it up from 2017, basically when Fortnite launched. What they've come up with is Fortnite Creative, Battle Breakers, Fortnite Save the World, which was the single player, which apparently I heard a rumor it's getting an update. Lego Fortnite, Rocket Racing, which is basically Rocket League inside of that. Fortnite Festival, which is Rock Band inside of Fortnite. And Fortnite Ballistic, which is made by Harmonix, but I've never even heard of. I don't know what Fortnite Ballistic is. Fortnite Ballistic is a tactical first-person shooter game mode for Fortnite. It was released into early access in December 11th, 2024. It received mixed reviews from critics. It will be shut down April 16th of this year. So, there you go.
And they also went and made Fortnite Save the World free. The game that Fortnite was originally supposed to be, and when it failed, they went to Battle Royale, which was much more successful.
I paid for it, too. Rocket Racing is going to be shut down in October. So it's still going right now. Lego Fortnite, it's still going.
It's like adding all these extra modes didn't really do them any good.
Now, they did publish games published from Epic. Fall Guys, Alan Wake Remastered, Rocket League Sideswipe, which was a mobile game, Kid and Amnesia Expedition, which was a Windows game, PC Building Simulator 2, Rumbleverse, and Alan Wake 2. They've all published all those games. And they're apparently publishing a game called End of Abyss, which I've never heard of. And apparently
basically, if engagement with Fortnite starts to dip and there's not as much people buying stuff, they basically have to say, we have to cut all these people.
Which,
Right.
You said it, Alex. It's their business model. If that's what they're going to do, and they go, well, now we have to cut people. I don't know if this was a hiring surplus at one point, or they are now cutting into the bone where it's like, well, we had this minimum amount of people. Obviously, at some point when they were cutting everybody on the previous layoffs, they got them to some level of sustainability for a while. And now they have to take even more. I don't know. I feel like Epic keeps doing this. They're going to do this so that way they can continue paying licenses for what? For who's going to program the game when there's nobody left to program?
AI.
Well, let's not get into that.
Well, no, the other thing is, and as a Rocket League player, like, I don't need to have The Simpsons or South Park or all these other things in Rocket League. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Nightmare Before Christmas, that promotion that was the Haunted Hallows in 2024, I believe. But I don't need it. If they had just done all their Haunted Hallows and Christmas time stuff with just generic Christmas and Halloween goods, like a haunted house topper or Christmas wreath wheels, that would have been fine for me. Fortnite didn't need all of this licensing. They just saw an opportunity as a way to grab people's attention and to try to grab more money, because people are like, oh, I love Wolverine or Cyclops or the Ninja Turtles. So clearly, I'm going to buy all these cosmetics for my characters, or I'll buy these characters or whatever. But I don't think any of that stuff was ever needed for people to play Fortnite. I think what brought people to Fortnite was the battle royale aspect of it. It wasn't the licensing. So why they went overboard in all the licensing, I don't know why. Unless they just saw that as the natural evolution of the game where they were going to make the most money. Like, hey, this game's super popular right now, but in 5 years it won't be, so we better make as much cash as we can. So, hey, let's license out a bunch of shit and hopefully people will buy all of it. But,
well, I think that was the issue. People were getting bored with Fortnite to a point of, well, now they needed to refresh it. So if you remember, it started with the map redo and then the Marvel crossover with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet, and they just took it off from there because they saw it was making them money. And now it's like, what else are you going to throw in there that's going to grab people's attention?
Well,
pinball.
I'm sorry.
Pinball in chat says Fortnite doesn't seem to have an identity and design anymore. It's just one big crossover and some characters that don't normally have guns. It looks weird sometimes. Everything game is trying to be.
I mean, I think one of the coolest refreshes that Fortnite did was the no build mode, because that was one of the reasons why I never gave Fortnite a shot, is because I didn't want to build structures. And, I just wanted to go out there and get dropped in a map and have an arcade-style shooter. I never played it. I mean, probably Nitro would probably be better to talk about this, because I know he was big into Fortnite for a while. But yeah, the building in Fortnite is what drove me away. And then I think one of the best things they did was have the no build mode, and it was just straight shooting. But now there's other modes, like instead of being dropped in with 100 people, you get dropped in with, I think, like 32, whatnot. And I have to say this, but I think one of also the drawbacks was that they never released trophies for the Battle Royale mode. Like, I think that could have done that could be a nice refresh. You add trophies in, but now you can't add trophies now because how you gonna tell somebody they got to go get 50 victory royales when they've already gotten 50? Like, do you make it retroactive? Do you just say from this point forward? The fact that they never released trophies for that, I always thought was a major fail for Fortnite. All the trophies for Fortnite are all in for Save the World mode.
If people get bored with your game and you just decide to go overboard with the licensing, that's just a crutch. That's only going to get you so far. So we're seeing kind of the fallout from that now with some of the decisions made, but getting rid of 1,000 employees at once is wild.
Kalai in the chat says, I don't think every game needs trophies. And Kalai, I agree with you. Not every game needs trophies. But if we're talking about things that Fortnite could do to bring people in, I'm just throwing that out as a suggestion. I'm not saying Fortnite needs it. I thought they needed it when they launched Battle Royale. But if you're looking for a refresh, I think that's one thing they could do. That's what I was trying to say.
Unfortunately, that only matters to certain people. But
I mean, it matters to, I don't want to say 50% of the audience, but a good chunk of the
Yeah,
audience
let's
scares by
let's not
trophies.
just pull numbers out of our ass with no.
I'm just saying, like, trophies are like the reason why PSN profiles is so popular is because people go after trophies. I mean, there's successful websites that deal with trophies. I'm just saying, it's a market out there. Kalai says she doesn't think it would help because it's past its shelf life. I agree too.
Yeah, I mean every game has its own shelf life. You know, at
But-
some point Rocket League will end because people won't want to play anymore, or
And-
there'll be something else that comes along that people would rather play.
And that's that was my question. You know, not my question, but that was gonna be my statement. Is we've had the conversation is like, when does Rocket League 2 come out? You know, the same thing. Can you make a Fortnite 2?
I think that Rocket League has survived for so long that any chance of Rocket League 2 is dead. You can't if people are going to stop playing Rocket League, it's not because a sequel comes out, it's because people don't want to play Rocket League anymore, and that means a sequel won't work at all.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my thought on it.
Alrighty. Next story is Star Wars Zero Company. Remember that game that's supposed to be coming out at some point?
No.
Yeah, exactly. So they're starting to talk about Star Wars Zero Company. And, I forgot this one even existed because I was thinking, well, what about Star Wars Eclipse that we've heard once years ago? So basically, it's a Clone Wars based tactics game made by former XCOM devs. It's coming out this year, supposedly. I say it's basically XCOM, but it feels like Mass Effect with turn-based tactics and permadeath. So I think one of the things to be careful of in this story is Mass Effect worked well because it had an engaging story, at least at the beginning, meaningful decisions, and it was its own universe. It was brand new lore people could latch into. Star Wars, people are trying to take it and mash into a game that you look at it and go, is this going to catch people's attention? Because as we look at it and go, well, I love Star Wars. Why wouldn't I want a game with more about Star Wars and playing and stuff? I worry about it, kind of throwing Jedi back in there. We've always talked about how sometimes the best stories these days in Star Wars don't include Jedis or the Skywalkers. So I don't know. It's a tactics game. It's a Star Wars setting. Do we think this has a chance of success, or are they just counting on the license?
I think they're counting on the license. I mean, me personally, I don't care about the XCOM style games, but I think they're heavily relying on the license for this.
Alex, what do you feel?
Aren't they heavily relying on the license for every Star Wars game they make? Like, if you take Star Wars out of the equation, does anyone want to play Jedi Fallen Order? I mean,
well,
it was a fine action game, third-person action game, but it wasn't worlds better than anything else out there. Like, you played it because of the Star Wars.
Well, it's saying you can say the same thing for Outlaws too.
Yeah, you played it for the Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed Cal's story in that game. I think they had a good bit of fan service, but they gave it its own depth. The problem was it was behind a heavily Dark Souls influenced combat system. It kind of wasn't doing its own thing. It was still taking other systems and meshing it to a Star Wars universe. It was popular enough to get a sequel, and evidently there's a third game that's coming out.
I'm not saying it's not popular. I'm just saying that every Star Wars game naturally just relies on it being a Star Wars game, with other things that can enhance the experience. But I mean, this being a strategy game, at least it's something different. I mean, if it was just another third-person action game, I'd say, well, here we go again. But I think there's at least a chance. I mean, there are people that are out there that like to play strategy games. I'm not going to just assume it's going to fail. You got to have something. You can't just pump out the same third-person shooter, third-person lightsaber game. That, I think the more damning thing is Tricky and I don't remember anything about this game at all. I remember Eclipse, but I don't remember anything about this game. I think that's maybe a little bit more damning than anything.
I don't think I've ever even heard of this game.
So what you're saying is you both aren't getting into it.
No.
Oh, I don't have a strategic bone in my body.
The second you said
I'm just like
the second you said XCOM style, I was like, I'm out.
I was like, I'm aware of XCOM. I can see like the logo in my head, but what the fuck is XCOM style? That shows you how much XCOM I've played.
XCOM style is permadeath with the ability
no,
to
thank you.
aim at enemies with a 99% accuracy and still miss.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So not for me. That's what you're saying the style is, Matt?
Evidently.
I not that it's like to the extreme of what you just said, but it wasn't Mario versus Rabbids is basically the same thing.
Yes. It's a tactics game. It's all about you have a playing board and you have to figure out the best strategy to beat the map.
Yep. I'm good.
Oh no, if I'm gonna play something like that, it's gonna be a board game. I'm not dealing with that on a video game.
You
no
play
thanks.
You play Risk, don't you?
I don't play Risk. I'd rather play Stratego than the Risk. Even when I was a kid, I'd prefer Stratego. But no, I would much rather play a board game than board game adjacent in video game land.
Okay. Next story, everybody who's a Nintendo hater is going to love this one, is that Nintendo is cutting back the production of Switch 2 by about 30% after, months of the device being on shelves. And, even though it had record-setting debut back in June, that the Switch 2 really hasn't met Nintendo management's high expectations in the long run. Nintendo shares fell as much as 6.3% in Tokyo, their steepest intraday decline since February 4th is what the article says. Despite successful launch of Pokemon Pokopia and a couple other games that it's had, unfortunately, it's readily available on shelves. So, looking at this going, well, it seems like the initial fervor driven by post-pandemic thoughts of, buying up units and maybe selling them later for a big profit kind of fell flat when the unit was still readily available. Initial months you couldn't find it, but when it released in June and come August, you're able to find it on a shelf here or there. It's kind of was saying, was Nintendo making too much, or are they just, didn't expect it to they expected to continue selling and where it didn't. So is this Nintendo's sequel console failing, a la Wii U, a la GameCube?
I think this is a combination of the Switch 2 not really being that much of a difference from the Switch, and also with them coming out with the higher price point. I think those two things combined is doing the Switch 2. Right now, and I'm just throwing out a number, and Matt, you could probably be better to answer this. There's only 10, maybe 20 unique Switch 2 games. Everything else is basically like a port from the Switch.
I don't even know if there's that many.
I was going high with my number. I was going high with the number.
Yeah. Well, I look at it and go Bonanza and Pokopia. And let's see. What are Switch 2 exclusive games? You've got Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Well, this article's wrong. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. No, they have a Switch version of that. Kirby Air Riders. I think Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment. Yeah, not even 10. So
yeah, I think it's the fact that there's no exclusive Switch 2 games. Well, there are, but you know what I'm saying. And the higher price point. I don't see... the Switch was catching up to the PlayStation 2 in sales. And they decided to release the Switch 2. And I don't think there's that much of a difference between the two that justifies people going out and buying it. So, yeah, if I was a person going out and buying a console or a Nintendo console and I didn't have a Switch ready, yeah, I would buy the Switch too. But if I already have a Switch, which I do, I actually own 2 of them, to me, there's no reason for me to go buy a Switch 2 right now. They don't even have an exclusive Mario game for the Switch 2, which I think would be their number one console seller, so to speak. There's no...
So now,
Good.
after after, a poster that was released for the new upcoming Super Mario Galaxy movie, spoiler alert, Fox McCloud is said to be in the movie. Nintendo now, there was an article that came out that said Nintendo is likely focusing on a new Star Fox game as well as a Zelda remake, but that a new 3D Mario game is not necessarily in the pipeline or to be seen at the moment. So yeah, it's interesting that you look at it and go, you'd think a Mario game would be in the pipeline, whether 2D or 3D.
Kalai in the chat says you bought the PS5 day one. It has no games for it, but the PlayStation 5 was a big step up from what the 4 was. It wasn't the same console again, just with better graphics. It was
Also, when it comes to Tricky, the rules do not apply the same to Nintendo as they do to Sony. He's going to go out and buy the day one Sony product because that is who he has aligned himself with. Let's be honest about that, Tricky.
Oh yeah, I mean I'll buy the PlayStation 6 day one too, and
yeah, because of your brand loyalty. It has nothing to do with the system itself.
But I'm just speaking like I'm not even trying to hate on Nintendo here. I'm just saying I think with the price increase and that there was not really a big significant change from the Switch to the Switch 2, I think that was the problem.
I mean, there's multiple problems. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
No, go ahead, because I want to move us on. Just looking at the time, going, all right, let's move this along, because the next thing has to do with pricing of games.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that it's not just, for me, it's the software. I mean, yes, you can put out a console that's kind of a step up. What I have heard is that people compare the Switch 2 to the PlayStation 4. And Matt, you can rebuff that if that's wrong. But that's what I've seen comparison-wise. And, like, look, I can look past that if you have the games for it, right? I'm never just going to go out and buy a Nintendo console day one because of the system capabilities, because as a system, it can be a fun gaming device, but it's not going to have the cutting edge tech that a lot of people expect out of video game systems. The problem is, if I had a Switch 2, I would buy Donkey Kong Bonanza. I wouldn't buy anything else. Now, Ashley wants to play Pokopia, which it's crazy to hear they're cutting production on the Switch because you can't find Pokopia anywhere. I've looked at stores just to be.
I got it off Amazon randomly one day.
Yeah, I mean it's selling really well, from what I can tell. Like just with my eyes in stores, it seems to be selling really, really well. And I do listen to a Pokemon podcast, and I do talk about how it's sold out everywhere they go as well. So it's not just me, but it's the games. We are not used to paying as much for a PlayStation or for a Nintendo console. We've been trained all our lives that Nintendo consoles, yes, they have less tech in them. They're not as impressive technologically as the other systems, but you'll get a better price on it, and you can still have fun on it. That kind of switched this time, where they're asking more of you when it comes to the upfront cost. And that may turn people off, especially if they've already got a gaming device to play on. And it's not just gaming as a whole has become so expensive as everything else. Our utilities, our food. I'm sure everyone is tired of hearing this argument, but the price of everything, having to pay more for everything or save your money for other things like, house payments or fixes to your car. It's getting to the point where I think a lot of people are going to choose. Growing up, a lot of people, if you had the luxury, you could have two consoles. I think people are going to start cutting out of one. Maybe people play on PC, or maybe people play on PlayStation, or maybe people have the Xbox, or maybe play have the Nintendo Switch. I don't think there's going to be as much crossover with people having multiple consoles because games are more expensive. The consoles themselves are more expensive, as we'll talk about in our topic of the week. But I think for one, Tricky hit right with the price. But also one of the things that annoys me most about the Switch 2 is we knocked Sony for this, and they deserve to be knocked for it, but we're also going to knock Nintendo for it. The amount of Switch games that have become Switch 2 versions is ridiculous. It's just lazy. Instead of giving us a new Animal Crossing 6 years later, there's Animal Crossing Switch 2 Edition, or New Horizons Switch 2 Edition. There are so many games that have just been upgraded to the Switch 2 that came out on the previous console, which sold, by the way, extremely well. There's tons of those out there. So, hey, we know you might have already played this, but why don't you buy the Switch 2 version too? I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous. Sony can't get away with doing all these remasters and remakes, and Nintendo shouldn't be allowed to either.
Which is interesting because Nintendo already failed at this strategy once. We call that the Wii U. Literally, they just released games that were released on other systems that, was just the Wii U version.
It was more acceptable though on the Wii U to the Switch because more people bought the Switch than the Wii U. So they saw, okay, not as many people bought the Wii U, so we're gonna bring something like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze over to the Switch.
Well, that was done much later. I'm talking about games that they ported from the Wii to the Wii U or from the PS3 to the Wii U, like Assassin's Creed or Black Ops.
And also, it's worth noting that the Switch is basically the Wii U joypad or controller.
Just but it also it was a full-fledged system in the aspect of you could take it anywhere, and the Wii U proved that people didn't mind playing on it. It was just very limiting.
Right.
So the Switch sold because it was a genius little device that was a hybrid console. But moving on, let's talk about the next articles where they talk about the difference in Switch 2 pricing as well as the PlayStation Spring Sale. Nintendo came out and said, hey, starting with May 26th, I think what it was. What did the article actually say? Yeah, May 2026. Starting with pre-orders for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, new Nintendo published digital titles exclusive to the Nintendo Switch will have an MSRP, manufacturer suggested retail price, that is different from physical versions. And that was before we actually got the pre-order pricing. So basically, now the physical version of Yoshi and the Mysterious Book is going to be $70 and the digital version is $60. Finally breaking that wall of why are we paying the same price for digital games as physical games. Now, you also remember Nintendo got rid of their ticket voucher system where you would buy a voucher for $100 and get two $60 games worth of titles. So they're finally starting to do this. So I don't know if this is going to have an impact on, digital sales, or if it's going to impact physical sales, or if people aren't going to care one way or another. I know people like Will are looking at this going, well, why the fuck, do I want digital? He only wants physical. So that plus PlayStation now has their spring sale on. Obviously, Steam as well as, Epic and other good old games all had their spring sales recently. So the goal here is to try to save some money on digital games. So, Tricky, you think this is finally a good thing that we're seeing difference in price?
Yes and no. I think it's good that it leads credibility to the argument that digital games should be cheaper because there's no packaging, no shipping to the stores, stuff like that. You don't have to pay for the shelf space and all that stuff. That's good. I've always said, and I've actually gone back and forth with it, that I was always okay with the fact of the prices being the same, because if they're able to sell the game digitally over physical, it's just more money for the devs or the publishers in their pockets to help them be more successful. Yeah, it sucked that we were paying more money for something that the publisher or the developer wasn't having to pay for. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. I'm just curious to see if this is going to follow suit with PlayStation and Xbox, if they're going to do the same thing in the future.
I'm betting no. Alex, what do you bet?
I'm not going to say no, because Sony has, they always has their own strategy, and the same with Microsoft. Microsoft, I can see them doing it because they want to get away from physical. And Sony does too. I think it's more likely with all the companies to hasten away from physical media. But I think, unlike Tricky, I think it's good. There should be a difference in the cost of a digital game versus a physical game. There should be. And I think that if these companies want to get away from physical, if we want to get away from all the game key card nonsense, with Nintendo and all that, making it cheaper will probably push people. There are some people on the fence that could care, that could be one way or the other. But if you make it cheaper, those people may jump to the digital side. Now, granted, like Will, like Yield, you're always going to have people who want a physical copy of something. But to me, I think it's a good thing. If you buy digital, yes, it's great for you that you pay less of a price. If you pay a cheaper price on it, it's something we've always thought should be the way it was. So I hope Sony and Microsoft are willing to adopt it. I mean, the only reason I could actually see them not doing it is because they run so many sales on video games on the PlayStation Network, like sales overlap. I think that might be prohibitive to some degree. They're like, well, we're already giving you better prices on digital games. You know, why would we give you a discount on a brand new game anyway? But it's nice to see someone, leading the charge. And at least that is a positive to come out of Nintendo, is that, the cost of games, and maybe Nintendo's like, holy shit, the cost of these games is prohibitive to people buying our shit. So let's make at least one of these versions cheaper, and then maybe at least we can get our console in the door. Their home.
Wasn't Nintendo the one that cracked the seal of making games $80?
Yeah. But they also said it was going to be dependent on the game, that it wasn't just going to be their standard pricing.
Right. All right.
So let's hope you're saving some money from those games to, make the next thing palatable.
Hold on. Skip this story. This one.
What story?
The PlayStation spring sale.
I talked about that. I said that PlayStation is doing a spring sale.
Yeah. Where were you?
I'm sorry. I must have checked out. My bad.
That's okay. It happened. It happens to the best of us. But my issue here, goddamn fucking ads on Twitch. It just ruined Daredevil for me.
Did it really?
Yeah, it just spoiled somebody coming back in Daredevil.
I haven't watched it yet, so
God fucking damn it! Fuck you, Twitch.
Maybe you should.
Right.
Maybe you should sub.
Maybe you should fuck off. I shouldn't have to sub to not get spoiled on a fucking TV show. That isn't even. The first episode came out, and they spoiled things later in the goddamn season.
Listen. I agree with you. I'm just being funny.
God fucking damn it! All right. I posted up a question. We didn't get any questions, but the one answer we did get from Dan goes into our topic of the week.
Time to check my social media.
I know Tricky had to get that out, so now play the other one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
Toe. Topic of the week. Well, fine then. Fuck you, Matt.
Well, fuck you, Matt, indeed, because that's basically what Sony
apparently
is
my
doing.
Life's motto, since I say that's one of my catchphrases. Well, fine then. Fuck you, Matt.
No, that's absolutely correct, because that's what Sony did to all of their consumers today. Well, I shouldn't say all their consumers. I should say all their consumers to be, or maybe consumers who have to get a replacement PS5. So basically, Sony announced a new price changes for the PS5, PS5 Pro, and PlayStation Portal Remote Player. It originally came out via a rumor, but then they confirmed it, that coming from the PlayStation blog written by Isabel Tomatis, Vice President Global Marketing, Sony Interactive Entertainment. With the challenges and continued pressure of the global economic landscape, they've made the decision to increase the prices of the PS5, PS5 Pro, and PlayStation Portal. We're just going to go over to the US numbers, so if you're overseas, I apologize. But the PS5 is going up to $650, and I believe that's just the digital version. And that is the disc version. PS5 digital edition is going up to $600. The PS5 Pro is going to $900.
That's insane.
Meanwhile, the PlayStation Portal, which is weird, I thought this article had it, is going up to $250 from $200. I think it was.
I think it is.
Yeah. So the question I asked to everybody in the group was, how do you feel about it? Do you think Xbox and Nintendo will follow suit? Dan was out here, says, thank your local AI, bro. He thinks Nintendo is pretty well set to weather the current storm. Xbox is a mess. Who knows there, but she's definitely trying to right the ship and knows an increase would be devastating. I think he's talking about the new Xbox head, Sharma. So in the show notes, you'll see I added the graphic that showed, and again, this has been a very weird generation, that this is the first generation that 6 years after release, these are the only sets of consoles that have increased in price. So going back, the original PlayStation was launched for $299 and after 6 years was $99. The PS2 was $299 at launch and was down $120 to $129 6 years after. The PS3 was $599 down to $269. The PS4 $399 down to $200, and the PS5 launched at $500 and is up to $649. Now, not to be called a shill, because I am certainly not one, I asked ChatGPT to put together an analysis of the Xbox and Nintendo history. So the original Xbox was $300 and 6 years later was $150, so a price drop of $150. The Xbox 360 was $400 for the premium model and was down to $200 6 years later. The Xbox One was $500 down to $249 to $299 depending on the version. And again, the Xbox Series X, showing that this is the first weird generation, was at $500, is now at $650. Nintendo was a lot different over its years, had a general price. Basically, the NES, SNES, and Nintendo 64, as well as the GameCube, all went down to $100 6 years after their launch, coming from the $200 range and $250. The $200 range initially. They've held a pretty steady price for the first generations. The Wii launched at $259 and was $149 6 years later. The Wii U was $300 down to $200 6 years later, and the Nintendo Switch actually, again, was the first system to increase, going from $299 to $339. So obviously it's affecting all of the console manufacturers. We're yet to see how the Switch 2 is impacted by this, but I coming from the PC world, a $900 unit that can do what PC does, to me is actually a good price when you consider it. I just don't like the limited scope of it. I'm not paying $900 to limit my library, so to speak. The PC that I have is much more expensive than that, but I can play games going back 30, 40 years. So I don't know, who wants to take a first shot at this and your thoughts on the price increases, and not just the fact that they're increasing, but those prices that they announced.
Those prices are insane.
Listen, you bought the PlayStation 5 Pro at the right time.
I really did. I even said that in our group chat. I was like, I was holding off, and then I was like, you know what? I'm pulling the trigger. Yeah, $900 for, yeah, that's insane. It's I don't know. Like, normally I'm the Sony apologist. I can't justify this at all. This is insane. These prices. But my question to you guys, you know what? I'll let Alex go first before I ask my question. Alex, what are your thoughts?
I pretty much echo the sentiment. I think that, well, thank God I have a working PlayStation 5. Of course, I should knock on some wood now that I said that, but I don't want to completely screw myself. But yeah, the pricing's insane. Like, the idea, and I get it, it's happening across all manufacturers. Well, Nintendo hasn't increased the price of theirs yet, but because of the increasing cost of what it takes to, all the parts that go into a console, we might see an increase on the Switch 2 at some point in its life cycle. But for Sony, my first thought when I hear this and I read these numbers is like, well, I guess Sony's done selling PlayStation 5s, because, even if, Matt said, coming from the PC world, even if you're used to paying this much for a good unit, console players are not used to paying this much. And it's part of the reason they buy consoles. Consoles are less work. They're convenient. They're easy to plug in and play, and they're generally cheaper than a PC, than maintaining a PC and improving a PC over the course of its life. So this is bucking that trend, at least one of them. Yeah, it's still easy to plug in and play, but the cost of it going up puts it closer to a PC, and a lot of people just aren't going to be willing to stomach that cost.
Well, Frosty is in the chat. Hi, Frosty. And he says if he's paying $900, he's just going to PC, which he did before the price hike due to data centers. And me being the PC master racist I am, it's insane that I have to look at this and go, it's crazy to even try to build a PC. So I bought a new PC in February, and I said, well, okay, this is the price at Micro Center. What if I just built it? And building it myself was an extra $400 to $600. I was like, this is crazy. And Tricky, you just bought that extra drive for your PS5 Pro, and that was like close to $400 for, what was it? Did you get the 4 terabyte?
I think I got the 4. I think I got the 4 terabyte. Let me just double check.
Okay. It's I can't even advocate going to PC these days. The only reason I got my new graphics card was I traded in my old one. They had a sale on the graphics card, and I paid under $500 for my new one. I can't even advocate going into PC gaming these days because it's getting freaking ridiculous. I don't know how people are going to afford these things. And then you have companies out there being like, well, here's the new RTX 60, 50, 90 that, will cost you $3,000. I was on Micro Center, and the new 5090 is over $4,000. It boggles my mind how they think people are doing this, at least from an enthusiast level. From a professional level, between crypto mining as well as other capabilities, people are going to buy that stuff. I mean, thank God the crypto crash happened a couple years ago, and now cards are readily available again.
I got the 4 terabyte internal, and it cost me $370, and then I got a 5 terabyte external, which was Astrobot themed, and that was only $170.
Yeah, well, again, I think that the premium here is on solid state stuff, whether it's RAM, whether it's an M2 drive. A regular solid state external drive isn't a lot because people aren't using them to crunch numbers. They're just using them for storage. So I look at a $900 Pro console and go, not bad for what you get out of it. But the fact that you still have a closed ecosystem and the Pro is really giving you benefits on only PS5 games, man. Okay, Frosty's in chat. The 32 gigabytes of RAM he purchased in December for $99 on Amazon is now $400. Can we not? Agreed. It's ridiculous. I look at this and I go, I'm glad I moved up to 32 gigs because 16 isn't cutting it anymore for current systems. And I can't freaking, if my system dies, I can't say I'll have that extra money laying around to be able to get a new component. It's mind-boggling. And Sony coming out here going, yeah, $900 for a new system plus $50 more for the portal. I guess it's evidently doing all right.
But the question, and Matt, you'll probably be able to answer this, is the price going up because they're having a hard time getting the parts to put in there and everything's going up in price?
Absolutely. That's exactly it. Because the data centers, and I think we covered the story a couple weeks back, Western Digital's out of RAM because the AI data center people bought all the memory that they were going to produce for the next year. So now all these manufacturers have to go to other vendors, and it's costing them more. So therefore they're passing that on to the consumer. It boggles my mind again that these new systems, this is the first time in gaming generation that prices have not just gone up once, they've gone up 2 or 3 times for these new consoles. So I don't know, like Alex said, well, I guess Sony doesn't want to sell any more consoles.
I get that you have to sell something at a certain cost because it costs you, or a certain price because it costs you so much to make something, to produce something. But these companies also have to look at, how else you don't make money, you lose money? If you make a bunch of consoles and they don't sell and they just fucking sit there. Or you pay a team to make a game and they spend 6 years making a game and that game doesn't sell. You also lose money that way. So you have to, the idea that they would just expect people to continue to pay rising prices for all this stuff, they're going to find very quickly that video games are a luxury hobby. They're not a necessity in life, you know. So I saw these prices and I was just aghast. I was like, really? For a console this old, we're already hearing rumors for the PlayStation 6. We already know we're past the midpoint in this life cycle and things just kind of trend down from here. You want people to pay this much money. No one who is sitting on the fence, or I should say a very small amount of people who are sitting on the fence who have not already bought a PlayStation 5 are going to be fine with paying this much money. A very small amount of people are going to be willing to pay, as a brand new customer, this amount of money for a PlayStation 5.
And then, you know, Kalai says plus shipping costs and tariffs, and obviously the tariffs are much less impacted than they were a couple months ago. But you talked to Alex about saying how gaming is such a hobby, as well as, you know, if I'm going to pay for something, it's for food on the table. It's not the next game system. And now they're talking about PlayStation 6. How much is that going to be at release? Is that going to be an $800 base console?
People
How
already
much is the Steam machine?
people are already speculating the PlayStation 6 is going to be over 1,000.
I look at it and I go, well, if the Steam machine, like Valve's like, we don't fucking know what's going on with the Steam machine, so maybe that'll be a $1,500 home console PC. And I look at this and I go, you know, I've bought when I could, a game console at launch every generation for the past, 20 years. I look at the next generation and go, do I fucking actually need this? Like, I don't think so. PlayStation 6, unless they have Spider-Man 3 on the console day one, I'm gonna look at this and go, maybe I can wait for those prices, especially what they're talking about.
Yeah, I guess that Sony, at this point, you've already weathered the tariffs, and like Matt said, it's not as much of an effect as it was. They must have some information that tells them, okay, most of our customers have already bought this, so we're just going to get whoever we can to pay this much money, because at this point, I have to imagine if you're making this decision, sales have slowed down to a certain point, to where you're comfortable making this decision if you're Sony, like increasing the prices this much. You're looking at data and you're saying, this many in the wild, this is how many we're projected to sell, we're in the decline, so let's just raise the price because we don't have as many people to buy them as we once did. But just as a consumer, like, seeing that you're jacking up the price of this much makes me think twice about supporting you, because it's like video games, it's not just like you buy the console and you're good. You then have to support it constantly with games again and again. Maybe it's one game a month, maybe it's 2 games a month, but you're constantly, it's a source of entertainment. So you're using it, maybe you're using it as like an entertainment device to watch things on because it has apps on there, but you also have to constantly feed into buying new games. And these companies are relying on you to buy new games. It's not like, oh, I just bought Madden 2026 and I'm good for the next 6 years. They don't want that kind of customer. They want someone who's on the PlayStation Store, who's in the stores, buying things all the time. And when these prices go up so much, whether it be the games, whether it be the console themselves, if the console buy-in is that much, if it's not deterring you from buying that console at all, you're definitely not buying 1 or 2 games with it. You may buy one that that's encouraging you to buy the console, but your spending on games is going to go down. So I don't know. Again, the only logic I can see is they just don't want to sell at such a loss, and that they feel like they have to, and that at this point their console base is what it is, and they're comfortable making a decision. But going forward, you look at this, and maybe this has some subliminal effect where people see, holy shit, we're used to the mid-cycle refresh being cheaper. Now it's going to get more expensive. Maybe they're hoping people buy earlier in the console cycle because people will be scared by the fact that, well, shit, if I sit and wait, the console's not going to go down, it's going to go up. I don't know if that has that kind of effect on people, but yeah, when I read this, it's like, Sony, what the fuck are you doing? Now? You choose to do this now?
Well, and I think that's it. Because people aren't spending as much on video games, they're like, well, fuck it, now I need to actually go out there and make more on the console. But then they're still running these spring sales. like you're willing to put sales on your game. So like, how are you not making money on your console? Well, again, manufacturing is costing them more. Frosty says Asus apparently came out and said that they were going to start developing RAM and GPUs to compete with the prices. We'll see. Yeah, we will see. Asus has quality and reputation has kind of gone down over the years, Frosty. So I'm concerned about the manufacturing parts. Intel, was a big player in the fact that they came out there and started making GPUs, but their drivers are shit, and they really haven't bitten into that market share yet.
No, if you're a company and you can get on making RAM and you can do a good job, now's the time. Like there's a need for it. So, it makes sense for people to try to jump in on that market. Now, of course, you may get people making RAM that or producing RAM that, well, the quality is kind of suspect, but you figure there's now an increasing market for it.
All right. Well,
Tricky, do you have any final thoughts here before we go off the air?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, then Tricky, back to you. Close it out.
All right, Alex, those your shout out, sir.
Give a shout out to the listeners, the fans, the fuel to the fire that is Trophy Whores. Thank you all very much for continuing to power our steam engine or gasoline engine or whatever the hell kind of engine we are. Lots of hot air going on here. So maybe you're the fire to our hot air balloons here on this podcast. But thank you all for your continued support. It means everything to us. Shout out to my co-host, Tricky and Matt, as well as Yield, for submitting the trophy rarity update, which we will plug into the show here. A shout out to Sid for the trophy, the platinum trophy update, as well as a shout out to Will. A big thanks to him for doing the artwork for the show. We appreciate it. Last but not least, give a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend Ashley. I love you, hun. And that is going to be my shout outs.
Ashley told me to tell you to turn on the air conditioning.
The air conditioning, it's chilly outside. We don't need the air conditioning. It's 66 outside, man. We don't need the air conditioning on.
I'm just telling you what she messaged me and said.
Well, then I won't be doing that, but I will gladly take a couple fans downstairs for her so she can have some fans on.
All right. Matt, your shout out, sir.
Shout out to you, gents, for recording. Shout out to Yield. Shout out to Sid and Will for your contributions to the show. Shout out to the community. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Make sure to go to channel3.gg to gamify your social media. And shout out to my wife, V. Thank you for all that you do.
And I want to give a shout out to everybody that was in the chat. We got Kalai, Pinball, Frosty. There were some other people in here. I'm forgetting your names. Thank you for being there. Thank you for everybody that listens to the show. Thank you to Matt and Alex for showing up to record. Shout out to Yield for doing the rarity update. And if there's nothing else, until next week, happy trophy hunting.
Later.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.